Hey guys, how's it going? This is Metal Days here, and today I decided that I'm gonna try and try my give this a shot. Tutorial on how to use Visual Basic. Um, I figured that I should step away from some games and give you guys something useful, maybe. Um, so yeah, this is going to be my introduction to this series of tutorials for Visual Basic. Why Visual Basic? Because I assume that most of you guys don't have any programming experience, and Visual Basic is actually one of the easiest languages out there, and it's one of the main languages that is used um, mostly for Microsoft applications and stuff like that. So, as you guys are probably aware of Java, and I don't know if you guys heard of C++, those are much more in depth and those are much more complicated than Visual Basic. So I decided to just give this one a shot, and if I do good, please let me know, and I'll continue the series. And if I suck, well, there's a lot more tutorials out there in YouTube. So I'll explain Visual Basic. Visual Basic is a program. It's a programming language used by Microsoft for a lot of its Office components. Like, for example, Excel or Access. For example, in my job, I'm using Visual Basic along with MySQL to do integrity testing. I won't go into detail on that, but I will say that I wish to God I was using Visual Studio, but I am using the Visual Basic that comes with Microsoft Office, which compared to what you see here on the screen is very primitive. The syntax isn't the same. It's a lot stricter, and you can't really design exactly what you want. So Visual Studio is the thing that you want to get. It's not free. You can download a trial version, but I mean, I got this one for free since I took this in college and they gave me a free copy. But it's not, as far as I know, it's not that expensive. So if you guys are really interested in doing programming in Visual Basic, you guys can get either a trial version or buy the full version. If not, just use the Access or Excel Visual Basic versions. But if you're a beginning programmer, I don't know. I'd rather work with this. At my job, I have no choice, but at home, I work with this. So today, I'm just going to show you how to write a very simple program, your first Visual Basic program, and I'm going to teach you how to do it step by step, and I'll explain a few things along the way. So this is the Visual Studio IDE. IDE is a program that allows you to write your code, and it compiles it, it runs it, it tells you what errors there are, tells you, some of them tell you where they are. This one is really good because it comes with advice on how to use certain functions and stuff, so I'll get into that later. Alright, so let's start with the program here. As you can see, you have a little window here, which is called Form 1. This is where we're going to write our program. The first part to write a Visual Basic program is basically a drag and drop type of thing. You design your program before you actually write the code, which in other in other programs they don't have this type of setup. That's why this is pretty easy compared to other ones. So now that we have the form here, this little window, as you can see, it's called Form 1. We are going to create a simple program that basically you press a button and then a message appears. Okay, that's like the simplest thing I've thought of about for this program. So let me explain this to you. This is called Form 1. Okay, so if you look to the right over here under properties, you can change the name of the window. So let's say here we go, form 1, we're going to say first program. We hit enter, and as you can see, the name of the window changed, but not the name of the form. That you go up here. You got to pay attention to this, because later on, while you're using your code, you're going to have to use this name, the name of the actual object, and not the text that it reads. I know it sounds confusing, but you'll see what I mean in a bit. So we want to create a button that goes around here and a text that says, I don't know, press the button or something. So first we're going to get the button. So you're going to see this drag and drop type of thing. You select button, right? This is your toolbar, by the way, where you have a whole bunch of different tools. Each has its own function, and oh god, I wish I had this at work. So so here we're gonna create a button, like about, let's say about this size, and we're gonna bring it up around here. Okay, see it says button 1. We're gonna change that in a bit, and we're gonna get like a little text label here, and it's gonna appear as label 1, but that's gonna change too. How do we change the name and the text for each of these? Well, let's select the button first. Well, actually no, let's select the label. So same thing with the form. You have the technical name or the object name here, and you have the text that it displays on the actual program here. So what we're going to change is this one. We're going to say, please press the button. We're going to be nice. We're going to say please. Okay, so we put the text. Actually, let's make it more interesting. Please press the button and see, there's no comma in there, and see what happens. Let's make it more interesting. Okay, there we go. This thing also helps you align your object with, the window size and proportion and all that. It's pretty cool. So for the button, we're going to go down here to text. As you can see, the same thing here, button 1, that's the name of the object, but we're just going to change the text. And we're going to write action. And as you can see, the button's name has changed. So now we have the GUI or GUI or graphic user interface, which is what the user will see. This is what the user will see. He won't see any code. He or she won't see any code or anything. It's just going to see this, a regular Windows window, if you will. Okay, how do we make it so that when we press this button, a message will appear saying something? Well, all you need to do is just double click on this, and then it would bring you to a new sheet, and this will be your code sheet. Okay? Now, you're probably looking at this and saying, oh my god, what is all that? What the hell? Public class form 1 private sub button, blah blah blah, by Val, someone give me a whiskey bottle and shoot me. Okay. Don't worry. All this, you won't have to worry about this until much later, when you actually change, if you want to change any parameters or anything like that. For the sake of this tutorial and for the next tutorials, you won't have to worry about a thing about this. Okay? So what's going to happen is I'll explain this whole block here. The public class form 1 and end class means that everything that happens in between these two lines of code here belongs to this form. As you remember form 1 that was here? So everything that I write in between this and that belongs to this whole window here. What does private sub button 1 click blah 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 mean? This basically means that when the user clicks the button, the action button. In this case, you remember I told you guys that the difference between the object name and the text that you write, the object name is still button 1. So if the user clicks button 1 or the action button, whatever I write in between this and this will happen. I'll explain classes and subs in different tutorials, but just for the sake of this, bear with me here, okay? A sub is just a procedure. This is what a computer program is based on: functions and procedures. You tell the computer what to do, and it reads it line by line, and it executes every line. So, let's get started on the code, shall we? So, since we click this button, we want a message to appear. Now, the code for this, the code for a message box to appear is exactly message. Okay, so the good thing about Visual Studio is that it automatically pops up. It gives you a bunch of different commands that you can write. This helps you out a lot. This way you don't have to memorize every single code. You could just, oh, I remember it started with MS, but I don't remember how. So here you have it. So we're just gonna finish it up. You can just double click on this message box. Now the message box is a function that needs a parentheses. Okay. Oh geez, there's so many things on here. Okay. It needs a parentheses. So you're basically, it's a function that needs parameters. Parameters or arguments are basically characteristics of the function and what the function runs. So basically, here, this is where the text will go. So let's write a text. Say, you have pressed the button. Awesome. Okay. I'll explain what this is in terms of programming. Okay, I'll explain that in a bit. However, actually, yeah, let's just run the program and see what it does. Okay, so in order to run the program, this is a little play button right here to start debugging. You just click that, and then the program will run. If there's no errors, if there were errors, something would appear down here saying, hey, your code sucks, basically. It tells you where the error is. So here we have our program. It's running. Please press the action button and see what happens. Action. The message box appears. Okay, this is I'm working on from a Spanish computer. That's why it says aceptar instead of okay. Otherwise, in English, it would say okay. So here it says you have pressed the button. Awesome. And that's the program. That's the program. Simple, right? It's pretty easy. Alright, so I'm gonna actually include a couple of things in this video, and then I'll continue with other videos. What you have in here, this is a value, okay? The message box is printing out a value. But the message box only can print out one type of value, which is this one. This value is called a string. A string is a collection of characters, whether it be letters or numbers or symbols or whatever. Whatever you have in between these quotation marks, it's going to print. It just reads it as a text, basically. So let's try something. If I put 1 plus 1, oops, 1 plus 1, do you guys think it's going to add 1 plus 1? We'll see. We'll press the action button. No, it didn't. So this is an example to show you guys what a string actually is. It's just a text. It doesn't do any type of operation. It doesn't. There are functions for strings, but we're gonna get that in a bit. But that's just changing different characters inside the string with other ones, replacing, trimming, making it shorter, making it longer, extracting characters from a string. But you can't really. It doesn't do any other functions like adding. If you wanted to do 1 plus 1 inside a message box, what you would need to do first is create a variable. A variable is an object that stores information for which you can use later on. So in order to declare a variable in Visual Basic, you have to write dim before. That's always. It's always like that. Dim. In this case, we're gonna create a variable called add. Okay. Now, well, you see, Visual Basic said as. Okay, I'll explain this right now. You can't just create a variable and just say, okay, this is my object, blah blah blah. No, you have to give it a value type. In this case, we are gonna give it a value, an integer value. Okay, so there's a green line here. It says unused local. Well, we're gonna use it, so I wouldn't worry about that. It's just a warning. It's not an error. So we can give, like for example, this, if we were to put this in a variable, oops, instead of declaring the variable as an integer, we would declare it as a string. So you have to assign, depending on the data or the information that you store in a variable, you have to declare the variable as that type of data. I don't know if you guys follow me or not, but alright, so we're gonna go. We're gonna keep going. Do this quickly here. So now we have to assign a value to our variable. So the value that we want to assign is 1 plus 1. 1 plus 1. Okay? Perfect. Alright? There's no squiggly line now because we used it. Now, in the message box, we will type add because we want it to print the result of the information that we stored in add. So, what will happen now? We run our program, and now look what happens. We have the result 2. Okay. Let's go back and let's make this a little more complex here. Let's create another one. Whoops, dim add 2 as integer. Actually, let's say add 2. Okay, whatever. So here we write add 2 and we give it its value. Let's do 1 plus 1 again. 1 plus 1. Okay. Now we're going to do something different here. We are going to subtract these two variables. What do you think will happen? We'll see. It's going to return 0. It's going to print out 0 because, whoops, because 1 plus 1, 2, 1 plus 1, 2, 2 minus 2 is 0. How come when we wrote in here 1 plus 1, it didn't do anything? Same thing. 1 plus 1 was a string inside quotations. Here, we're actually doing a function. We're subtracting two different variables, and the message box returns it as a string. Why doesn't it return this? Because it's not in quotations. If we put it in quotations, it would return add minus add 2. So this is the first program, and I hope you guys learned something, and I hope I explained myself at least decently, so you guys can understand a little bit of what Visual Basic is like and what the whole programming experience is like. This may seem like boring stuff or blockheaded stuff, but yeah, it's this is just the beginning, and once you learn a lot of the fundamentals, and you delve deeper and dig deeper into functions and classes, you can do pretty cool stuff, pretty cool and interesting stuff, pretty creative stuff. It's fun. I don't know, but either you get it and you like it, or you don't get it and you hate it. It's one of those things. Either you get it or you don't. Either you like it or you don't. So if you think this is for you, just let me know, and I will keep on posting more tutorials. So thanks a lot for watching. Subscribe, like, comment, whatever you guys want to do. You know the drill. This is Metal Days signing off.